Welcome to our program series, Jan Henrik. I want to start with asking a big question. What is your vision for Munich Airport's development as an airport city?
Well, first of all, Peter, thanks for having me. And this is in a big one. I mean, my vision, and this is hardwired into our overall strategy, is to definitely maintain as one of the most dominating transportation hubs in Europe. I think we have been known for short connection times, superb operational efficiency, but as you touch airport city, I think it is more around becoming a destination. We have subscribed this as our campus strategy. So we want to go further. We want to not only connect people, connect lives, connect Munich to the world, but to connect with our neighborhood, with our partners, i.e. especially Lufthansa or Star Alliance. We just recently signed a deal with the Technical University of Munich, so become a chair hosting 500 plus students. So the whole idea is to collaborate, to co-create, and to invent on a permanent basis to maintain being relevant for our guests, for our customers, both external but also internally. 33,000 people working on that campus. So we can't do this on our own. Therefore, we are reaching out, talk about smart partnerships with universities, with startups. So there shouldn't be any reason left to actually stay, to create the stickiness. That's my vision for anyone who comes to Munich Airport, to remain there and not travel further.
You've touched on an important point there, because you are very community-minded as well, aren't you?
We are. We consider us as an integral part of the neighborhood, of the surroundings. So we strive for symbiotic purposes. We don't want to push through. I think retail space is a never-ending story in terms of how many footage, how many square meters you actually provide. So we have been balancing this and do consider us as being one among others. So that's hardwired in our philosophy, in our value proposition, in terms of connecting lives, including those who are in the proximity of the airport.
Well, just balancing this for a moment, I mean, the needs of the airport with the anticipated broader urban development around it, how much of a balancing act is it?
It's back and forth. It's back and forth, but I think the commitment to ourselves to consider as a community member, being someone at stage, but someone also being behind the curtain. I think that is this symbiotic, that is this bilateral dialogue that we always want to maintain through our partners, to politicians, through governmental bodies. I think it is it's a typical win-win situation that we actually hunt for.
So there's no potential disconnect between the two parties?
So far, knock on wood, no. At least the last 3 years, not of major importance, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on now and focus on the airport itself. What are your current plans for expanding the airport's capacity while maintaining its reputation for efficiency?
That's a tricky one, and again, it's a balancing act. I mean, we are, give or take, 20% still behind PAX numbers 2019, so relatively good, but slower than expected. We are reaching 41-ish million customers. We had passengers in 2019 of 48, so still some room to grow. I mean, the recent months have been outperforming. There are some destinations, especially North American traffic, where we are overperforming, but national flight, national German, intra-Germany, very, very soft, continental, somewhat still soft. So it is the differentiated picture. But coming back to this, also in terms of life cycle considerations, bear in mind our 2 terminals are aging, like any building, yeah, any facility. So we are gradually upgrading, bringing, especially Terminal 1, who has seen 32 plus years now, and is designed in a run shopping form. So 3 minutes from car park to gate, especially talking commercial non-aviation business, there isn't too much to offer. So we are fully upgrading this facility in terms of being also Terminal 1 wise a 5-star airport with a new extension, 12 gates, give or take 80,000 square meters. There are 5,000 square meters of retail and F&B space. So really hunting to go for share of wallet of non-Schengen customers.
So a combination of new build and retrofit.
Correct.
That's quite a big capital expenditure program, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's a little bit less than 700 million that we just put into a pier right between the modules A and B, but the rest of the terminals still to come. So you're right. It is much easier to build on greenfield, fresh. But we want to maintain the modularity of the Terminal 1 as well. So we will go in stages, which will be an exercise for the next decades to come.
Moving on to the commercial arena, what strategies are you implementing to increase non-aeronautical revenues at Munich Airport? I know you touched on them just before, but give us the full picture.
I mean, the core element of any strategy for non-aeronautical business is around the customer. So you need to be customer-centric. You need to know about your customer, KYC. You need to be relevant, you need to be wowing, you need to be automated, digital, seamless, frictionless, all the buzzwords you hear from various sites. I think what is unique in Munich is really the degree of influence we have in terms of being vertically integrated with our operating companies, both in F&B and retail, to go for, I would say, a corresponding approach, not trying to optimize just F&B versus retail spend, or in terms of share of wallet, you can spend high on parking, but then you have a little remainder to go actually for the caviar and the shampoos. So I think trying to optimize in a Pareto optimal way is a green line across all our strategies. In particular, I think I mentioned automation and digitalization is a key point in terms of biometrics is a must-have, is a hurdle rate you have to have, self-services as far as possible. I think the ingredient there is customer insights. It's about data that we as an airport have to have next to kerosene or petrol in our veins. We have to have more customer insights to drive especially non-aeronautical business.
And what about the F&B experience for passengers, notably in the new satellite terminal?
Right. I mean, F&B is, in terms of both capture rate but average spend, in comparison to retail, definitely a discipline where we see even higher figures than 2019. So especially F&B outperforms 2019 figures, and bear in mind less than 20% packs still missing. I think they're a blend of local relevance, so local heroes. We will again partner with well-known trodden brands from Munich downtown or the Bavarian area. Local sourcing, we talked about sustainability a lot in terms of avoiding plastic, get the right packaging, trying to offset the CO2 footprint. When you consume still, and some do, including me, a lot of protein, the offer of vegan or vegetarian food. I think you will see a variety of 6 outlets coming out operated by our subsidiary Alresto in the F&B.
It's a pretty eclectic mix, isn't it?
It is, it is. And you know, again, we've done our homework in terms of preferences, understanding especially the customer group that is primarily using Terminal 1, being the GCC country, so Arabic country. So you will see an offer towards the geared expectation of those traveler groups.
Okay, so can you then share any innovative commercial concepts or partnerships you're especially proud of?
Well, I'm proud about many things going on in Munich, but one thing that really pikes out is our close cooperation with our dear system partner Lufthansa. And me being 3 years in the role, I've been refusing, especially just being a me too in terms of earn and burn, just redeeming mines and burning. I was and still are of the opinion we can do much more in terms of going for joint customer databases, sharing data, the ecosystem approach also there. And I'm pretty proud about an achievement that we just launched recently. We offered 21 times miles to any euro spent because Terminal 2 just got this anniversary. And we have seen so irrational customer or guest behavior. I think we are the only airport who has ever seen a spend of a single customer beyond 250,000 euros on an airport. Yeah. So I think what's possible if you really believe that there is incremental revenue and incremental profit in terms of joining a common approach towards reach, target new customers, becoming relevant, going for customer insights, which we do now with Lufthansa and Miles & More and Munich Airport, 3 very complementary partners coming together. The proof is in the pudding, and we are doing this now for 2 years to come, with exciting 11 use cases being nailed down. We took the effort to invest into this, working in squads, working in an agile way, 3 partners carrying their cost. We look at the results, and I'm a fan of data-driven decisions, data-driven, not opinion. We look at the incremental revenue generated, and we will share. And that's the commitment.
How much can you reveal now?
I mean, we have seen 5 times higher spendings than average. I know from, for example, from Paris, who has just introduced also with a GV partner with a factor of 3. So we see 5. That's a preliminary statement. We have seen incremental uplifts in these last 2 months. We have been seeing a reach of 1.2 million customers just with this initial communication. So it's really, really promising.
So what kind of timeline are you working to kind of self-liquidate?
As said, we've committed to do so for 2 years, so it's a bit early to say, but I mean, especially when
Best guess?
Best guess, we talk about 1 million double-digit of incremental revenue for all involved parties, and bottom line isn't as bad as we talk really high gross profit categories here.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on and talk about how much is Munich Airport currently using technology to streamline the passenger journey?
Streamlining passenger journey is ultimate in terms of, I mentioned seamless, frictionless. I think the biometrics, the board card, the self-scanning, the self-services. I think we have a lot of elements already fully automized, fully digitalized to provide that facility. I think it is more going beyond the transactional side. What I do imagine there in the future is to go for planned purchase, which sits with, again, the relevant customer insights that need to be generated. And I think there are elements of lead generation that will come. So give you an example, you won't buy a Porsche, even though Germans love their cars, at an airport. But as sufficient dwell time allows, and you scan a QR code, and you get into the mood of being on your journey, reaching out to the world, there should be some business in as an opportunity once you buy your Porsche or whatever brand you prefer at a later. And I envision that the digitalization of the customer journey will allow these new models of business activities.
How much more is there to support your digital transformation strategy?
I mean, we walk in a threefolded approach. We look both in terms of our partners, so i.e. classical B2B business. Definitely we can't neglect the potential that comes with our guest base, so there's a B2C component. And considering our 8,000 people or 33,000 I mentioned at the campus, we have to have elements in terms of digitalization to employees to make them more efficient. Yeah? So we walk along these three clusters, and we have set ourselves a 5 area comprising strategy in terms of aviation first front, whatever can be digitalized there. Is it apron? Is it turnaround? Shall be done. Commercial and marketing is the second cluster. Smart city is the third. There is a workplace cluster. So we have sketched a digital outline in terms of roadmap forward around these 3 customer groups and the 5 clusters. To give up more insights, and let's start with the core business, which obviously is aeronautical or aviation business. The turnaround process, we are digitalizing to have more insights into on-off block times to gain efficiency. So it's all about squeezing cost out, but also for higher quality. We use artificial intelligence in the meantime to really work with the chokes that underpin or surround the airplane. We have mowing robots, artificially intelligence driven. A lot's what's happening at the premises and the apron. Talking about digitalization, which is more visible for customers, I think we had, just on this conference, we had our Jeeves, our robot, driving around, which is more a gimmick, which is more a marketing thing, but I think we have seen a coffee concept, yeah?
Yes.
An artificial, basically a barista. So you can't neglect these things, and we are walking the talk in terms of test, measure, learn. We consider us as a playground. That's another component of the campus. We give it a try. If we fail, we fail fast in terms of just analyzing the data, and if there's no commercial rigor behind, then we stop.
Are you getting closer to what Ibrahim talked about today, about the airport becoming a media platform, a stage for experiences,
Yes.
rather than just a simple transactional location?
Correct. And this is what I was trying to express, forgive me about my words, in terms of going beyond the transactional, going in a fruitful cooperation with science and research, with the universities, with the startups. I think it's a playground, it's a melting pot where all these different disciplines should come together, test in an agile way. Yeah, what you scribble on the board, basically you can test in the terminal. You can do in terms of self-driving in one of our premises, for example, that Audi has. I think this is exactly the idea, to experiment, to productize, and then go on.
I'm interested to learn more about the Travel Buddy app. Tell us more.
Travel Buddy is something that I think we started prior to COVID, and then it was sleeping like many of those initiatives during COVID. We reactivated basically, and Travel Buddy is meant as a digital travel communion. It's someone who's your personal advisor in terms of orientation, wayfinding. Hey, what's around me? What's the offer? How, from an intermodal perspective, do I catch my next plane? Do I need to travel further to a destination with a train, yeah, or public transport? So it's meant as an assistant. We will advance the Travel Buddy into our overall scheme, which is called My Airport.
Okay. Let's look now at sustainability. How does this fit into the airport's commercial and operational strategies?
We talked about new buildings, new outlets, but
Yes.
we also talked about remodeling or refit. I think the materialization, yeah, what kind of material you use. We try to be environmental friendly. We look at the supply chain that, landed costs are somewhat proportional in terms of the material price. I briefly mentioned packaging, which is, especially with the to-go article, still something that is high on our agenda. We talk about local sourcing. Yeah, we are pretty proud. We source more than, I think, 90% of anything that is consumed in F&B from the Bavarian region. Yeah, so again, short ways, little to non CO2 footprint.
Definitely reduced supply chain.
Definitely, definitely. We offer for those who are willing to contribute to a good corporate social citizenship or environmental friendly behavior. We had the opportunity to reduce your carbon footprint by protein consumption with a surplus. Yeah, we talk about green lounging. Yeah, together with Lufthansa. So we are experimenting again and trying to productize wherever possible to be a good contributor towards a sustainable approach.
But what about the bigger picture? What approach is the airport adopting when it comes to reducing its overall environmental impact, footprint, whilst also seeking growth? I mean, there's a degree of disconnect there, isn't there?
It may sound like, it may be a dilemma that you hint. I think we are crystal clear. Since 15 years, sustainability is an integral part of our strategy forward. We have set ourselves a very ambitious target. We draw that forward even to be quicker in terms of being net zero by 2035. And as you may be fully aware that there are limits in terms of, is it 1, 2, or 3 in terms of direct influence. So I think with regards to building, with regards to photovoltaic, with regards to converting gas into electricity used for cooling or heating, I think we are front runners there, not only using that energy for our airport, but again, as a good neighbor, providing green power also to the neighborhood. So I think it is a central component and a commitment we as an airport, together with our partners, and there we talk about scope 3 or 2, to work on SAF, sustainable aviation fuels, with our airline partners. Again, the cooperation with the university, Technical University of Munich, helps us to go for environmental testing to become more and more sustainable.
One last question. How do you nurture a culture of innovation and continuous improvement within the airport organization? What's the recipe for success in your view?
I don't dare to state that I found the recipe. I'm trying to walk the talk as being a role model. But turning 55, I'm still 100% convinced that long life learning is necessary to be innovative. Not from a destructive point of view, trying to destroy what I've created a day, but to critically review and learn from your mistakes. I talked about test, measure, learn. I think what's needed is to involve, to engage, to empower. I'm the first one who says we have to have a more accepted failure culture. We had in our last leadership meeting a fuck-up room. And guess what? Who sat on the first place to talk about actually the screw-up in life? It was me, to role model that, hey, it's okay to make a mistake. What anyone should try to evolve is to actually do the mistake again. So I think it starts with touching your own nose. I have the privilege not to only be the chief commercial officer and chief security officer, but I'm...
That's a curious combination.
It's a perfect combination because you actually have the span of control of majority of your customer journey.
Yeah, it's operational as well as retail. As well as commercial.
It is, but I'm proud to be in charge of IT and digital, so CTO, CDO, CIO, you name it. So I have a direct report on those. We have been able to create a digital community that runs across the business. As you see, many airports still operate stovepipes, so a metrics approach in terms of innovating and digitalization helps a lot. And most of my fun times actually I'm having when I can spend time with these young guys or girls with sneakers who are trying to think about tomorrow.
It's been a really excellent conversation, Jan Henrik. Thank you so much for your time.
Peter, thank you. Pleasure on my side.